Week 1 of Falcons training camp is wrapping up. So we have some news and some notes to share with you guys following the first week of camp. And unfortunately, that does include some injury news, but thankfully not to any of the big name starters or anything like that, if we're all being honest. But still, injuries suck. Never like to see them. But team reporter Tori McElhaney tweeted out, not a good few minutes for the Falcons. Defensive line Ikenna Enechukwu hobbling off with help from trainers. And not too long beforehand, we had another injury pop up, which was offensive lineman Ethan Greenidge getting carted off the field right now. Tough moment for an O lineman who was likely fighting for a spot on this roster. Injuries suck. You hate to see them. It is one of the worst parts about just football in terms of losing star players or losing players in general, but especially in training camp. It just feels like it stings more when it happens before the regular season, because part of me feels like it was an injury for what cause? You know what I mean? It's not like it was in a winning or a losing effort or something like that. But Josh Kendall from The Athletic later followed up that injury report on Greenidge, saying no update on him, who was carted off the field in Wednesday's practice. Arthur Smith said, "You never know. I've seen guys carted off. It looks ugly, and they are back 2 days later." But it's not good to see. Anytime the cart comes out, that sort of feels like the kiss of death. But I will say that the last couple of years, at least in training camp, the cart's been watered down a little bit, where they kind of bring the cart out a lot now, and it's not always a season-ending injury is the training cart coming your way. Fingers crossed for Ethan that it's not that severe, but we know how serious the cart can be, and it's just the Grim Reaper for 2023 coming at you anytime that training cart comes on the field. But listen, anytime news breaks, you guys know we're going to keep you in the loop, which is why you have to subscribe. Plus, for my own selfish reasons, we're almost 100 subs away from reaching 13,000 subscribers. And Saints now by Chat Sports, they're over 14,000 subscribers. So if you want to beat the Saints on the field, I can't guarantee subscribing is going to do that. But I do tell you this much. YouTube faxes me a list of everyone who watches and does not subscribe. You don't want to be on that list if you don't subscribe and then the Saints end up beating the Falcons. Have peace of mind. Don't jinx it. Hit the sub button. Now, some notes I want to get through from the Wednesday portion of training camp. Matthew Bergeron is with the first-team offensive line after an injury to Matt Hennessey that looks like it's going to knock him out for a week or so. So the former Syracuse Orange left tackle gets an opportunity with the first-team offense, and he may very well hold onto that opportunity and run with it, because he had a lot of good reps today, which is very encouraging to see. It's not like in rookie minicamp and OTAs, a mandatory minicamp, he got an opportunity with the first-team offense and never looked back. If there was a game tomorrow and Hennessey was healthy, he would be the starting left guard for this team. So it's nice to see Bergeron fitting into this new role after making the transition from tackle to guard. And like I said, Hennessey is currently day-to-day, so we're going to have to wait and see on that front. I think if there was a game tomorrow, Matt Hennessey would be this team's starting left guard. But we know that Atlanta identified Bergeron as someone they had a big heart on going into the draft, and they moved up in the second round to land him. And now the Canadian left guard has a home in Atlanta and hopefully a permanent spot at the left guard position. Because no knock on Hennessey, but there is something to a rookie guard fitting in right off the bat and starting and feeling like, okay, if this is just his rookie season, you're going to see a big improvement in years 2 and 3, and hopefully this offensive line can motor this team all the way to a division championship, because I think if Atlanta's going to be successful in 2023, it'll be because of these 5 faces on screen clearing avenues to run through for Bijan Robinson. Now, speaking of Bergeron and the running back room in general, Kevin Knight tweeted out, best run of the day by far, running back Goodwin Igwebuike, I did not get that right, running behind rookie Matthew Bergeron. So a couple of rookies right there, or one rookie at least, putting together some nice highlights with the pads coming on, because before the pads, it's really hard to evaluate the players in the trenches. But once you get the pads on, you can get a much better idea as to who's who. Often players say within a week or two, they've got a pretty good idea as to who's going to make it in this league and who's not, right? Who's NFL material and who's not. And hopefully Bergeron looks like the part of a starting left guard in the National Football League. Now, the Falcons did add Goodwin this week, so some more news as they did lose Caleb Huntley. They waived him with an injury designation, and of course, Avery Williams got lost for the season a while ago. So Atlanta's looking to beef up the running back room a little bit. I don't think Goodwin's going to push for a 53-man roster spot, but maybe he finds a home on the practice squad because Bijan, Tyler Algier, and Cordell Patterson, those are your 3 starting running backs. But will Matthew Bergeron start week 1? I'm calling out all of your, self-deposed X's and O's experts out there because when you talk offensive line, when you get in the trenches, you're going to get a little bit nitty-gritty. You're going to get a little bit of a nerd of a football self coming out of you. So let me know. Do you think he ends up starting week 1 against the Carolina Panthers? Second note I've got for everyone watching is wide receiver Frank Darby. He's looking pretty good. I think the entire wide receiver room just watched all of our videos from, say, April till 2 weeks ago, where we were begging Atlanta to go out and get a veteran wide receiver. And Matt Collins, I really hope I don't run into him in person because I'm sure he'll have some words to share with me, or he'll just put me into the ground and walk away with no shoes on. But Frank Darby caught a 50-yard touchdown from Taylor Heineke, and he is, Darby that is, right on that bubble of making the roster versus being one of the first guys on the practice squad. Darby also mossed Cornell Armstrong for another touchdown, so he's putting together some really good plays, and he is making a name for himself within this coaching staff because when we look at the wide receiver room for Atlanta, you've got some locks to make this roster. London, Hollins, Scotty Miller. Kadarius Hodge, I would say, is pretty well cemented just because of his experience. But after that, it's Frank Darby, Penny Hart, Slade Bolden. You've got some guys that are going to be competing for the last spot or two in the wide receiver room. And like I said, London, Hollins, Scotty Miller, Kadarius Hodge, all those guys, they are going to make this roster. They've got the most experience at the wide receiver position. I would be shocked if any of them didn't. I mean, maybe Miller and Hodge are not as, well positioned as London and Mac Hollins are, but I do think that they're going to end up making it. And Frank Darby might be someone that joins them if he continues to put together really good practices. The former Arizona State Sun Devil, didn't see a whole lot of him last year, just one grab for 15 yards. But if he continues making really good plays, I think he's going to make this 53-man roster. Now, I also think you guys should make some pretty good decisions, like adding some more hats to your game, including the Falcons 2023 sideline official hats. If you're a fan of any of these hats, whether it's the flat brim, whether it's the curved hat, whatever it is, you guys can get it today. All the hats for the 2023 official season are on sale. chatsports.com/Falcons hats, That link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Third note, and one I'm very excited to talk about with you guys, is the Falcons cornerbacks. Yeah, there are 2 ways of looking at this. You can go half glass full or half glass empty. Half glass full, Atlanta's secondary is a bunch of G's, right? There are a lot of great pieces. Half glass empty, the Falcons have a really bad quarterback situation, and it's making the cornerbacks look really, really good. Listen, all I can tell you right now is from what we've seen, and that is the Falcons cornerbacks have been very physical. They have been outplaying the wide receivers in a lot of ways. Matt Collins and Drake London have had their fair share of wins, but you're seeing a lot of these guys come away in terms of the secondary with big plays, interceptions, all that good stuff. I mean, you've seen a lot of kind of bottom of the roster players come away with picks so far. We're not even talking about the big kahunas like A.J. Terrell or Jeff Okudah, but we're talking about D. Alford and, Hall and Armstrong. A lot of these lower-level names, if you will, coming up and showing out so far in training camp. Now, of course, the biggest name of the bunch is A.J. Terrell, and A.J. Terrell so far is reminding everyone that he is the big man on campus. He is this team's top cornerback, undoubted, and he needs to remind the NFL that he is a top 10 cornerback because last year he kind of slipped a little bit in those top 10 ratings where he went from a guaranteed top 10 CB to maybe he's borderline and he slips down to 11 or 12. He's going to have a lot more help with Jesse Bates behind him and a much improved front seven. That's going to make life a lot easier for the former Clemson Tiger. And I think Terrell, opposite of Jeff Okudah and Clark Phillips in the slot, there's going to be a lot of big plays being made by the secondary. Again, we might look back at this and go, no, it wasn't that the secondary was all that good. It was just that the quarterbacks were awful. And maybe that will be the topic of conversation in December. But for now, I'm going to enjoy life. And I'm going to look at a half glass full and go, no. There's a no-fly zone being formed right now above Hartsfield-Jackson. So grade the Falcons' cornerback room for me. Scale it 1 to 100 Madden style. I would put it at an 84. I think at its peak, it could be a 90. If A.J. Terrell looks like a top 5 corner, Jeff Okudah, comeback player of the year, Clark Phillips gets a pick 6 in his rookie season, that's an A cornerback room. If A.J. Terrell looks a little bit like he did last year, and Jeff Okudah just doesn't ever figure it out, and Clark Phillips looks like a rookie, well, then maybe this secondary slides down to a 78, 79. But for now, I'm going to keep it at an 84. Now let's get to our draft for today. We had a push on yesterday's show. If you like our drafts, comment below who you think has a better draft, Petey or Rolly. It's literally 5 letters. Takes you 5 seconds. But unfortunately, Rolly is tied up doing some other business here at Chat Sports. So the former Clemson Tiger, speaking of A.J. Terrell, Jake Chipper is behind the camera today, filling in for Rolly, just announcing his picks. These are all Rolly's own selections. But today's draft is best players to not win a championship in the NFL. The best guys without a Super Bowl ring. I had the 1-1 selection, and I went with Dan Marino. This one seems like an absolute no-brainer, slam dunk. Had a lot of great seasons in South Beach, but ultimately, no, could not win a championship. And I think a lot of people every once in a while forget that that undefeated Dolphins team, it was not Dan Marino. Now, Rolly's first selection, Chipper?
We got Randy Moss.
Okay, I like it.
Like the selection. Strong pick. A lot of other good players, as we'll see, but Randy Moss is one of the best receivers of all time. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Randy Moss is also one of those guys you go, he didn't win a Super Bowl with the Patriots? It's like, no. I was like, oh, shit, I just kind of assumed he would have. All right, my second selection, Barry Sanders. Unfortunately, not someone I was able to watch with my own two eyes, but we know Barry is a top 5 running back all time, and if he didn't play for the dysfunctional Detroit Lions, maybe he plays a little bit longer. Maybe he wins a Super Bowl somewhere else. But Barry, how is he not on the list?
Number 4, you're talking about the dysfunctional Detroit Lions, staying on brand here. Calvin Johnson, obviously was never able to get it done there with Detroit, but again, like with Randy Moss, one of the most talented receivers of all time.
Calvin is just such, Megatron's the best, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see more of him. My third selection, I went with Bruce Smith. You want to know like some good trivia? Anytime someone asks you a question about sack leaders all time in the NFL, go with Bruce Smith from the Buffalo Bills. He is quietly at the top of lots of leaderboards. Bruce Smith had, I think, 4 opportunities to get it done. Question, quick sidebar. The Buffalo Bills, did they have a dynasty in the 90s? Was that a dynasty? 4 straight Super Bowls is extremely difficult. I saw Rich Eisen talk about this.
I think you would call them a dynasty. Yeah.
A sad one. But could you imagine any team now going to 4 straight Super Bowls? Like, we would think that's the best team ever. Yeah, the Patriots didn't do it.
No, I would say it counts as a dynasty.
All right, Rolly's third selection.
We got Tony Gonzalez, Falcons legend, of course, and argument for maybe the best tight end of all time. We got some other names there, but again, sad he was never able to win that championship. No fault of his own, but great player.
My final selection in this draft, I went with Larry Fitzgerald. He's just such a great human being, such an awesome ambassador for football. You would like to have seen him put up together a championship, but the guy, he never sold out. He didn't leave the Cardinals at the end to try and chase a ring elsewhere. He's going to be the senator or maybe even the governor of Arizona one day.
And another player that you would have loved to see win a championship with Damian Tomlinson, one of the most electric runners with the football in his hand of all time. Truly sad he was never able to get that championship.
So those are our draft picks. Let us know in the comments who had a better draft, myself or Rolly. Just type Petey or Rolly for whoever you think had a better draft down below. Make sure you subscribe, by the way, if you enjoy our free Falcons coverage here. Consider subscribing. That way we can continue to grow the channel, get you guys more video because we have more studio space. Thus, we can make more content.